October 29, 2025. At the exact moment 3I/Atlas reached perihelion, the most watched interstellar object of the decade vanished behind the sun. Earth's entire arsenal of telescopes blinded when history could happen. While the world missed it, Harvard's Avi Loeb released rapid-fire space-based evidence of a sudden brightening and unnatural blue tint. If 3I/Atlas really is doing something impossible today, what did we just miss? And what will these first images reveal? Before we dive into what happened during those critical missing minutes when 3I/Atlas disappeared behind the sun, make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling me what you think is really going on with this interstellar visitor. Natural comet or something more? Your thoughts matter. Now let's dig in. The moment we've been waiting for. At 7:47 a.m. Eastern, the clock struck perihelion for 3I/Atlas. A moment so anticipated that astronomers worldwide had set alarms, only to be left staring at a blank solar glare. Every ground-based telescope on Earth was rendered useless. The comet hidden in perfect alignment behind the sun. The world waited, knowing anything could have happened in those unseen minutes. A sudden breakup, a flare, or something no one had imagined. This wasn't just bad timing. This was the astronomical equivalent of a blackout during the Super Bowl. The most important moment of the entire flyby, and we were blind. For context, perihelion is the closest point an object gets to the sun during its orbit. For comets, this is when they're most active, when the heat is highest, when volatile materials explode off the surface in dramatic displays. It's the moment that reveals their true nature. And for 3I/Atlas, this third confirmed interstellar visitor in human history, perihelion represented our best chance to understand what we're really looking at. But the universe had other plans. What we couldn't see, the solar conjunction problem. Earth's telescopes were powerless to track 3I/Atlas at the moment it mattered most. The problem wasn't just bad luck. It was geometry. In late October, the comet's path placed it almost exactly behind the sun from our point of view, a phenomenon called solar conjunction. The angular separation, or solar elongation, dropped so low that even the most advanced ground-based observatories faced a wall of daylight and solar glare. No amount of optical or infrared sensitivity could overcome the sun's overwhelming brightness. This alignment didn't just block visible light. It erased any chance for radar imaging, the gold standard for mapping distant objects. If Earth had been on the opposite side of its orbit, 3I/Atlas would have passed within about 54 million kilometers, close enough for planetary radar to send a signal, receive a reflection, and build a detailed shape model. Instead, the actual minimum distance is set for December 19th at roughly 269 million kilometers. At that range, even the largest radar dishes can't return a usable echo. The opportunity to scan an interstellar object with radar, something achieved only for a handful of comets and asteroids, vanished with this year's orbital arrangement. Think about what we lost. Radar can reveal an object's shape down to meter-scale resolution. It can detect surface roughness, composition layers, even hidden structures beneath dust. For an interstellar visitor that's already shown unusual behavior, radar data could have been definitive. But we'll never get it. The result is a permanent gap in the record. No direct shape, spin, or surface data from radar. No high-resolution spectra from ground-based arrays at perihelion. Only the limited vantage of space-based solar observatories remains, relying on coronagraphs and heliospheric imagers that were never designed for this kind of detective work. The world is left inferring the most critical moments of 3I/Atlas's journey from a trickle of indirect signals. What we could see Loeb's space-based evidence. While the planet's best eyes blinked, Avi Loeb stepped forward with new evidence. His team released a series of stacked images from 3 space-based instruments, Stereo AS-HI-1 and COR-2, SOHO's LASCO C3, and the GOES S19 CCOR-1 coronagraph. These were the only tools capable of piercing the sun's blinding curtain. In their process data, Loeb's group reported a rapid increase in brightness as 3I/Atlas neared perihelion, paired with a striking blue color that stood out against the expected spectrum for comets. The details came fast. The object brightened sharply in the final hours, and color indices shifted toward the blue end, all according to Loeb's internal analysis. No independent teams have confirmed these measurements, and the raw photometry and calibration methods remain unpublished. Still, Loeb's claims have set the tone for the coming debate. He assigns a Loeb scale rank of 4 to the event, his own system for weighing the odds of artificial origin, suggesting the data is strongly suggestive, if not conclusive. Let's break down what this means. Natural comets, when they approach the sun, typically brighten due to increased outgassing. Water ice, carbon dioxide, and other volatiles sublimate from solid to gas, creating a glowing coma around the nucleus. This is expected behavior, but the color is where things get interesting. Most comets reflect sunlight in a reddish or neutral spectrum. They're made of ancient, carbon-rich materials that have been frozen for billions of years, dirty snowballs with a reddish-brown tint. A blue color, especially one that intensifies as the comet approaches the sun, is unusual. It could suggest unusual composition, perhaps gas-rich materials that scatter light differently. Or it could indicate something else entirely. Loeb is careful not to claim definitive proof, but his language is pointed. Strongly suggestive is about as close as a scientist gets to saying, "I think this is artificial," without crossing the line into speculation. The first hard numbers from space have landed, and the mystery of what happened behind the sun is only deepening. The 8 anomalies, a statistical impossibility? With the best observational tools sidelined by the simple mechanics of the solar system, Avi Loeb has assembled a catalog of 8 features he calls improbable for any natural comet. He presents each as a piece of a statistical puzzle, arguing that their combination strains the limits of chance. Let's go through them one by one. First, the trajectory. 3I/Atlas follows a path almost perfectly aligned with the ecliptic, the plane of Earth's orbit. This is a configuration Loeb calculates at just 0.2% likelihood for a random interstellar visitor. Most objects entering our solar system from interstellar space should come from random directions, distributed evenly across the celestial sphere. The fact that 3I/Atlas is aligned with our orbital plane is, statistically, quite rare. Second, the sun-facing jet. A jet observed in July and August pointed directly toward the sun, not away as with most cometary outgassing. Normally, when a comet releases gas and dust, solar radiation and the solar wind push that material away from the sun, creating the classic comet tail. But 3I/Atlas showed a prominent plume facing the sun, which is geometrically unusual. Third, shear scale. The object's size stands out as well. Over 5 kilometers in diameter with a mass exceeding 33 billion tons and a velocity at perihelion near 68 kilometers per second. This makes it roughly 100 times longer than SpaceX's Starship and vastly more massive than any human-made object. While large comets exist, interstellar objects of this size are extremely rare in the sample we've observed. Fourth, timing and close approaches. This timing is equally peculiar. Skimming close to Mars, Venus, and Jupiter, yet avoiding any close approach to Earth, and reaching perihelion while hidden from every ground-based telescope. This alignment, while possible, is suspiciously convenient if you wanted to observe our solar system while minimizing the chance of detailed radar imaging from Earth. Fifth, unusual spectroscopy. Spectroscopy adds another anomaly. Gas rich in nickel but poor in iron, with a high nickel-to-cyanide ratio that's rare among comets. This chemical signature doesn't match the standard profiles of solar system comets, suggesting formation in a very different environment, or possibly a different origin altogether. Sixth, low water content. Water content is unusually low, less than 4% by mass. Most comets are dominated by water ice. They're often called dirty snowballs for this reason. But 3I/Atlas is extremely dry by comparison, which is difficult to explain if it formed in a typical stellar system. Seventh, extreme polarization. In polarized light, the object displays an extreme negative polarization, stronger than any solar system comet measured to date. Polarization refers to how light waves are oriented after reflecting off a surface. Extreme negative polarization suggests surface properties unlike anything we've seen before, possibly indicating unusual composition or structure. Eighth, the WOW signal connection. Finally, its inbound direction lies within 9 degrees of the famous WOW signal, a region of sky linked to a historic unexplained radio burst detected in 1977. The WOW signal was a strong, narrowband radio signal detected by the Big Ear radio telescope at Ohio State University. It lasted 72 seconds, appeared to come from the constellation Sagittarius, and has never been explained or repeated. The fact that 3I/Atlas's trajectory traces back to nearly the same region of sky is, according to Loeb, statistically provocative. Loeb contends that the odds of all 8 anomalies appearing together in a single object fall below 1 in 10 quadrillion. This statistical argument is his foundation for considering an engineered origin, and it sets a high bar for natural explanations. But statistics can be tricky. If you define enough unusual features, almost anything can seem improbable. The question is whether these 8 features are genuinely independent anomalies, or whether some can be explained by the same underlying natural process. The skeptical view natural explanations. The sheer scale of 3I/Atlas sets it apart from almost every comet known. With a minimum diameter greater than 5 kilometers, its nucleus outweighs 33 billion tons, making it 100 times longer than SpaceX's Starship and vastly more massive than any human-made object. Its estimated rotation period, about 16 hours, falls within the range for large solar system comets, offering no immediate sign of artificial stabilization or engineered spin. These numbers alone invite awe, but they also demand caution. Mainstream comet scientists point to the familiar physics seen in the data. By late August, 3I/Atlas developed a classic anti-solar tail. Dust and gas streaming away from the sun, exactly as expected from natural outgassing. The sun-facing plume observed in July and August, highlighted by Loeb as unusual, is explained by the geometry of sunlight striking volatile-rich patches on a rotating nucleus. Such plumes have been documented in other comets. When jets erupt from sunlit areas, sometimes appearing to point toward the sun from certain perspectives. It's a matter of viewing angle and timing. Dr. Michel Torres, a cometary scientist we spoke to earlier, explains, "Comets are not spherical objects with uniform surfaces. They're irregular chunks of ice and rock with active regions. When the sun hits a particular spot at a particular angle, you can get jets that, from our perspective, seem to point in unusual directions. This is well-documented behavior." Skeptics also raise concerns about measurement and calibration. Claims of rare nickel-rich, iron-poor gas, and extreme color shifts rely on custom-processed data that hasn't been independently verified. Instrument teams emphasized that coronagraphs and heliospheric imagers were never designed for precise comet photometry. Without peer-reviewed reductions and cross-check calibrations, even dramatic signals can be artifacts of processing or background subtraction. In other words, the blue color and rapid brightening that Loeb's team reported might simply be errors introduced by the way the data was processed. Until other teams can analyze the raw data and replicate the findings, these claims remain provisional. The debate now pivots on what can be tested. Extraordinary size and oddities in tail direction are intriguing but not unprecedented. Only future observations, especially independent, quantifiable measurements, can decide whether 3I/Atlas is a natural comet with quirks or something truly out of the ordinary. What we're looking for: technosignatures. Researchers are now on alert for any sign that 3I/Atlas is more than a comet. Radio observatories, both professional and amateur, are preparing to scan the object's path for unexpected transmissions as soon as it clears the sun's interference. The search list is clear: artificial radio bursts, sudden course changes, flashes of light, or unexplained heat. Each could suggest engineered activity. Let's break these down. Radio transmissions. If 3I/Atlas is artificial, it might emit radio signals for communication or navigation. SETI researchers have long theorized that interstellar probes might use radio frequencies, particularly around the hydrogen line at 1420 MHz, for transmissions. Radio telescopes around the world, including the Very Large Array and facilities in Australia and South Africa, are already positioning to observe 3I/Atlas as it emerges from behind the sun. Course changes. Natural comets follow predictable trajectories determined by gravity and momentum. Any deviation from the expected path, especially if it's sudden or directional, would suggest propulsion. Even small course corrections, on the order of meters per second, would be detectable with careful astrometric measurements over weeks and months. Light flashes. Unexplained brightening or flashing could indicate internal activity, perhaps power systems activating, reflective surfaces adjusting, or controlled venting of materials. The challenge is distinguishing such signals from natural outgassing or fragmenting events, which can also produce sudden brightness changes. Excess heat. Infrared observations can detect heat signatures. If 3I/Atlas is warmer than expected given solar heating alone, it could indicate internal power sources. Comets do generate heat through radioactive decay and friction as they tumble, but these sources are well understood. Anything above predicted levels would be anomalous. While no coordinated global campaign has been announced, SETI teams and planetary radar groups are quietly watching their windows. At the same time, calls for transparency are growing louder. Some in Congress, including Representative Anna Paulina Luna, have urged NASA to release any high-resolution images taken before perihelion for public review. The push for open data reflects a new urgency. Every dataset, every signal could tip the balance. The next phase depends on what emerges from both the sky and the archives.
At 7:47 a.m. Eastern,
what happens next,
the clock struck perihelion for
In November,
3I/Atlas.
3I/Atlas
A moment so anticipated that astronomers worldwide
sky,
had set
with
alarms,
its path arcing
only to be
through
left
Virgo
staring
and
at a
Leo
blank
as Earth's
solar
vantage
glare.
improves.
Every
comet
ground-based
will be
telescope on
under
Earth
intense
was rendered
scrutiny.
useless.
Hubble
The
and the
comet
James
hidden in
Webb Space
perfect alignment
Telescope are
behind the
cued
sun.
to capture
The world
high-resolution
waited,
images and
knowing
spectra,
anything could have happened
while
in those
ground-based
unseen
arrays
minutes.
will monitor for
A sudden
changes in
breakup,
brightness,
a flare,
structure,
or something no
or
one
color.
had imagined.
At perihelion,
While
the
the planet's
nucleus
best
endured
eyes
roughly
blinked,
770
Avi Loeb
watts per
stepped
square meter
forward
of
with
solar
new
heating,
evidence.
enough to
His
trigger
team released a
fragmentation in
series
a
of
fragile
stacked
natural
images
object,
from three
or,
space-based
if engineered,
instruments,
to prompt
Stereo
maneuvers or
A's
controlled releases.
HI1
This
and
is a critical point.
COR2,
If
SOHO's
3I/Atlas is a
LASCO
natural
C3,
comet,
and the
the thermal stress of
GOES
perihelion
19
should cause observable
CCOR1
effects. Pieces
coronagraph.
might break off.
These were the
The
only
coma
tools
should
capable of
expand
piercing the
dramatically.
sun's blinding
The tail
curtain.
should brighten and
In their
lengthen.
processed
If it's
data,
artificial,
Loeb's
and
group
if it has
reported a
any
rapid
active
increase
systems,
in brightness
this is when we
as
might see evidence.
3I/Atlas
Heat
neared
shields
perihelion,
retracting.
paired with a
Antenna
striking
arrays
blue color
deploying.
that stood out against
Trajectory
the expected
adjustments
spectrum
beginning.
for comets.
Each instrument
The details
will target
came
a
fast.
specific
The
signal.
object brightened
Radio
sharply in the final
telescopes will
hours,
listen
and
for
color indices
transmissions.
shifted toward the blue
Infrared
end,
arrays will
all
seek
according to
excess
Loeb's
heat.
internal analysis.
Optical observatories will
No
chase
independent
sudden flares
teams have
or
confirmed
course
these
shifts.
measurements,
The
and
next
the raw
weeks offer a
photometry
clear
and
decision
calibration
tree,
methods
with
remain
every data
unpublished.
set a potential answer to
Still,
the questions still
Loeb's
hanging
claims
over
have set the tone for the
3I/Atlas.
coming debate.
Dr. David Jewett,
He
the
assigns a
astronomer who
Lobo
led
scale
much of the
rank
Hubble
of 4 to
observation
the
planning,
event,
put it this
his
way:
own system for
we're
weighing
about
the
to
odds
get
of
our best
artificial
look at this
origin,
object since it was
suggesting the
discovered.
data is strongly
If there's
suggestive,
anything
if
unusual
not
about its
conclusive.
post-perihelion
The
behavior,
first hard numbers from
we'll see
space
it.
have landed,
If it's just
and the
a
mystery
comet,
of what
we'll see
happened
that
behind
too.
the sun
Either
is
way,
only
the
deepening.
data will tell the story.
Earth's
The
telescopes
transparency
were
question:
powerless
what's
to track
NASA hiding?
3I/Atlas.
One of the most frustrating
At the moment
aspects
it
of the
mattered most.
3I/Atlas
The problem wasn't
situation
just
is
bad
the
luck,
lack of
it was
transparency
geometry.
from major space
In late
agencies.
October, the
NASA,
comet's path
ESA,
placed it almost
and other
exactly behind the
organizations
sun
have been
from our
notably
point of
quiet
view,
about their
a phenomenon
observations
called
and
solar
findings.
conjunction.
While this could simply
The angular
reflect scientific
separation,
caution,
or solar
waiting to
elongation,
publish results
dropped
until
so
they're
low
peer-reviewed
that even
and
the most
confirmed,
advanced ground-based
the timing and
observatories
nature of the
faced a
silence
wall
has
of
raised
daylight
eyebrows.
and solar glare.
Representative Anna Paulina
No
Luna,
amount of optical
a
or
member of
infrared
Congress,
sensitivity
has
could
publicly
overcome the
called for
sun's
NASA to
overwhelming
release
brightness.
any high-resolution images
This alignment
taken of
didn't just block
3I/Atlas
visible light,
before
it
perihelion.
erased any
In a
chance for
statement
radar
released
imaging,
in early
the
November,
gold standard for
she
mapping
said,
distant objects.
"The American people
If
have
Earth
a
had
right
been
to
on the
know what
opposite
our
side of
space
its orbit,
agencies are observing.
3I/Atlas
If there's something
would have passed
unusual
within about
about this
54
object,
million kilometers,
transparency is
close enough
essential.
for planetary
If it's
radar to
just a
send a
comet,
signal, receive a
releasing the
reflection,
data promptly
and build
will
a
help
detailed
settle the
shape
debate.
model.
Her push
Instead,
reflects
the
a
actual
broader
minimum
frustration
distance is
within
set
the
for December
scientific
19th,
community and among
at roughly
space
269 million
Why the delay?
kilometers.
Several
At that
theories
range,
have been
even the
proposed.
largest radar dishes
1.
can't return a usable
Standard
echo.
scientific process.
The opportunity
The
to
most
scan
benign
an interstellar
explanation
object
is
with
that
radar,
NASA and
something
ESA
achieved
are
only for
simply
a handful
following
of comets and
standard
asteroids,
They want
vanished
to
with
analyze
this
the
year's
data
orbital
thoroughly,
arrangement.
rule out
The
instrumental
result
artifacts,
is a permanent
and
gap
prepare
in the
formal
record.
papers before
No
releasing
direct shape,
findings to the public.
spin, or surface
In this
data
view,
from radar.
the secrecy isn't
No
malicious,
high-resolution
just
spectra
cautious.
from ground-based
2.
arrays at perihelion.
Something genuinely
Only the
confusing.
limited advantage of
Another
space-based
possibility
solar
is that the
observatories
agencies agencies have data that's
relying on
genuinely puzzling,
coronagraphs and
and they're not
heliospheric
sure how to
images
interpret
that were
it.
never designed for this
Releasing
kind of
confusing
detective
or
work.
contradictory
The
findings
world
could
is left
cause more
inferring the
problems
most
than
critical
waiting for
moments
clarity.
of 3i/Atlas's journey
National
from a
security
trickle of
concerns.
indirect signals,
If there's any
with the
chance
best
that
observational tools
3i/Atlas is
sidelined by the
artificial,
simple
it
mechanics
would
of the solar
immediately
system.
become a matter of national
Avi
security.
Loeb has assembled a
Governments might
catalogue
choose
of
to
8
study such
features
a
he calls
discovery in
improbable
private before
for any
making
natural
public
comet.
announcements.
He
The
presents
detection
each
of
as a piece of a
extraterrestrial
statistical
technology
puzzle,
would have
arguing that
profound
their
implications.
combination strains
Better
the
to
limits of
understand
chance.
what you're dealing with
First,
before
the
causing
trajectory.
potential public panic or
3.
international tension.
I/Atlas follows a path
Nothing there.
almost perfectly
The
aligned with
simplest
the ecliptic,
explanation might
the
be
plane
that
of
there's
Earth's
nothing
orbit,
unusual to
a
report.
configuration he calculates at just
3i/Atlas is
0.2
just
of
a
a percent
comet,
likelihood
and the
for a
agencies
random
are delaying
interstellar
because
visitor.
there's no exciting discovery
Next,
to announce.
a jet observed in
Why
July
rush to
and
publish?
August
It's just a
pointed
comet,
directly toward the sun,
when everyone is
not
expecting
away
something
as
dramatic.
with most cometary
Regardless
outgassing.
of the reason,
The
lack
object's
of
sheer
transparency
scale
is
stands out
feeding
as well,
speculation.
over 5
And in the
kilometers in
absence of official
diameter,
data,
with a mass
researchers
exceeding
like
33
Loeb are
billion
filling the
tons,
void with their
and a
own
velocity
analyses
at
and
perihelion
interpretations.
near
The
68
stakes,
kilometers
why
per
this
second.
matters. Why
Its
does this
timing is
matter
equally
so much?
peculiar, skimming
Why are
close to Mars,
scientists,
Venus, and
politicians,
Jupiter,
and the public
yet avoiding
so
any
invested
close
in
approach to
understanding what
Earth
3i/Atlas
and reaching perihelion
really
while
is?
hidden from
Because
every
the
ground-based
implications
telescope?
are profound. If
Spectroscopy
3i/Atlas
adds another
is
anomaly.
a natural comet,
Gas-rich
it's
in
still
nickel but poor
incredibly
in iron,
valuable
with a high
scientifically.
nickel-to-cyanide
It's a pristine
ratio
sample
that's
from
rare
another
among
star
comets.
system, potentially
Water
billions of
content is
years old,
unusually low,
carrying
less than
information about
4%
stellar
by mass.
formation, planetary
In
system
polarized
evolution,
light, the object
and the
displays
chemistry
an
of distant
extreme
regions
negative
of our
polarization,
Every
stronger than
measurement
any
we
solar
take
system
teaches
comet
us
measured to
something
date.
about the universe beyond
Finally,
our
its
solar
inbound
system.
direction lies
But
within
if
9
3i/Atlas
degrees of the famous
is artificial,
WOW
even
signal,
partially,
a region of
everything
sky
changes.
linked to a
It
historic
would be the
unexplained
first
radio
confirmed
burst.
evidence of
Loeb contends
extraterrestrial
that the odds of
technology,
all 8
not
anomalies
microbes
appearing
on
together
Mars,
in a single
not organic
object fall
molecules
below
in a
1
meteorite,
in 10
but
quadrillion.
a constructed object
This statistical
from an
argument is
intelligent
his foundation for
civilization.
considering
The
an engineered
philosophical,
origin,
religious,
and it sets a high
scientific
bar for
implications
natural
would be
explanations.
staggering. We would know
The sheer
with certainty
scale of
that we are not alone,
3i/Atlas
that
sets it
other
apart from
intelligences
almost every
exist
comet known.
or existed somewhere
With a minimum
in the
diameter
cosmos,
greater than 5
that
kilometers,
interstellar travel
its nucleus
or at least
outweighs
interstellar
33
probes
billion
are
tons,
possible.
making
It
it
would also
100 times
raise
longer than
immediate
SpaceX's
questions.
Starship
Who
and
sent
vastly more massive
When?
than any
Why?
human-made
Is it
object.
observing us?
Its
Can we
estimated rotation
communicate with
period,
it?
about
Are
16
there
hours,
more?
falls
Even
within
if
the range for
3i/Atlas
large solar system
turns out to
comets,
be natural,
offering no
the
immediate
questions
sign
it
of
raises
artificial
about how we
stabilization
search
or
for and
engineered
identify
spin.
artificial objects
These
are
numbers
crucial for
alone
the
invite
future.
AWE,
Before
but they
2017,
also demand
we had
caution.
never seen an interstellar
Mainstream
visitor.
comet
By
scientists point
2025,
to the familiar
we've seen
physics
3.
seen in the data.
Statistical models
By late
suggest
August,
there could be dozens or hundreds passing through our
3i/Atlas
solar
developed a
system every
classic
year,
anti-solar tail,
most too small
dust
or
and
too
gas
faint to
streaming
detect.
away from the sun,
What if some of them
exactly
are
as
probes?
expected from
How
natural
would we tell?
outgassing.
The
The sun-facing
3i/Atlas
plume
debate
observed
is
in
forcing
July
us to
and
develop
August,
better criteria,
highlighted by Loeb
better
as
observation
unusual,
strategies,
is explained by
and
the
better
geometry of
international
sunlight
cooperation for
striking
studying these
volatile-rich
objects.
patches on a
Whether
rotating
it's natural
nucleus.
or artificial,
Such plumes have been documented in
3i/Atlas
other
is teaching
comets
us how
when
to be
jets
ready
erupt
for
from
the next
sunlit
visit.
areas,
The wait
sometimes appearing
continues.
to point toward the
October
sun from
29,
certain
2025.
perspectives.
The most
Skeptics
important
also raise
moment in the
concerns
study
about
of
measurement and
3i/Atlas
calibration.
occurred behind the sun.
Claims of rare
hidden
nickel-rich,
from Earth's
iron-poor gas
Avi
and
Loeb's
extreme
team
color
presented
shifts
evidence of
rely
rapid
on
brightening and an
custom-processed
unusual blue
data
color
that
during
hasn't been
perihelion,
independently verified.
along with 8 statistical
Instrument
anomalies that
teams
collectively
emphasize that
suggest, in his
coronagraphs
view,
and
a
heliospheric
probability of less
images
than 1
were
in 10
never designed
quadrillion
for
that this is
precise
a
comet
natural object.
photometry.
Mainstream
Without
astronomers
peer-reviewed
point to known
reductions
comet
and cross-check
behavior and caution
calibrations,
that the
even
measurements
dramatic
haven't
signals
been
can
independently
be artifacts
verified.
of processing
As
or background
3i/Atlas
subtraction.
emerges into the
The
evening
debate now
sky in
pivots on
November,
what can be tested.
the most powerful telescopes
Extraordinary
on and
size
off
and
Earth
oddities
are
in tail
preparing to
direction
observe it with
are intriguing,
unprecedented
but
scrutiny.
not unprecedented.
Radio telescopes are
Only
listening
future
for
observations,
signals. Infrared
especially
arrays
independent
are measuring
quantifiable
heat.
measurements,
Optical
can decide
instruments
whether
are tracking its path
3i/Atlas
for any
is a natural
deviation from
comet with
gravitational
quirks or
predictions.
something truly out
Within
of the
weeks,
ordinary.
we should have answers.
Researchers
or
are
at
now
least
on
better
alert for
questions.
any sign
The transparency
that
debate continues,
3i/Atlas
with calls
is
growing
more
for
than a
NASA
comet.
and ESA to
Radio
release all available
observatories,
data
both
for
professional
public and
and
scientific
amateur,
review.
are
And in
preparing to scan
laboratories
the
and
object's
observatories
path for
around the world,
unexpected transmissions
scientists
as
are
soon as it
analyzing
clears the
every
sun's
photon,
interference.
every
The
spectrum,
search list is
every
clear.
image,
Artificial
searching
radio
for the
bursts,
truth.
sudden
Is
course
3I
changes,
slash Atlas
flashes
a
of
natural
light,
comet
or
from another
unexplained
star
heat.
system?
Each could
Remarkable
suggest
in its
engineered
size and
activity.
chemistry, but
While
ultimately
no
explicable
coordinated
by
global
known
campaign
physics?
has been announced,
Or is it something else?
SETI
A
teams
probe
and
from another
planetary radar groups are
civilization,
quietly watching their
observing
windows.
our solar system
At the
as
same
it
time,
passes through
calls for
on an ancient
transparency
journey?
are growing louder.
We don't know yet.
Some in
But
Congress,
the universe
including
is not done
Representative Anna
surprising
Paulina
us.
Luna, have urged
perhaps,
NASA to
just
release any
perhaps,
high-resolution
hidden in the
high-rise
data that's
images
slowly being
taken before
released,
perihelion for
buried in the
public review.
spectra and the images
The
and the
push for
radio
open data
observations
reflects a new
is the
urgency.
answer to one of
Every
humanity's
dataset,
oldest questions.
every signal
Are
could
we
tip
alone?
the balance.
I want to thank
The
you
next
very
phase
much for
depends on what
watching this
emerges from
coverage
both
of
the
the
sky and the archives.
3i/Atlas perihelion event.
In November,
Feel free to share your thoughts in the
3i/Atlas
comments.
will return to
Do you
view
think
in the
Loeb's
evening
8
sky,
anomalies
with its
are
path
statistically
arcing through
significant?
Virgo and Leo
Should NASA
as
release
Earth's
all
vantage
the data
improves.
immediately?
The comet
And
will
most
be under
importantly,
intense
what do you
scrutiny.
think 3i/Atlas
Hubble and the
really
James
is?
Webb Space
Let me know
Telescope
your
are
theories.
cued to capture
Also, feel
high-resolution
free to
images
leave a
and
thumbs up
spectra.
to help support the channel, and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos covering the latest developments in this story as new data comes in. Thanks again and be well.